Well, what a difference a week makes. It's finished at St Mary's, Southampton 2, Newcastle 0.
I don't need saving. Could you leave me alone?
Yes, this is the last word. Southampton 2, Newcastle 0. I hope you've seen scoring the players and the group reaction from the lads and see if you agree or disagree with any of their points or scores. Not a great night for Steve Bruce's side, but we'll touch about the manager a little bit later on. We'll start with the lineups. We'll look at Newcastle first. Normally we do anyway. No changes. Just the same 11 that beat Everton last week. Just one change on the substitute bench and a big one. No Ryan Fraser. Matty Longstaff was in for him. Apparently he's got a hamstring injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. But he'll definitely be out of the Scotland game against Serbia, which is a big game for them. But for Newcastle, you're hoping it's not out. He's not out for too long. But yeah, good to see Matty Longstaff on the bench. First time we've really seen him this season because he's been injured. But yeah, big blow that Ryan Fraser wasn't involved tonight. For Southampton, no Danny Ings. We knew about that. Theo Walcott moved more of a central position and he caused havoc to Newcastle tonight. Him and Shea Adams, will touch about them too, in particular in the first goal very, very shortly. But you're thinking, can we actually get something? I was quite positive Newcastle could get a point today, but from the first minute to the last minute, Newcastle was second best in every single department. And we gifted both the goals, but we'll start with the first goal. Just after 7 minutes, Miggy Almiron holding on to the ball far too long. Get it away. He had Jamal Lewis in space. He had his goalkeeper in space. He had so much time on the ball. And Theo Walcott managed to nick it off him, plays his cross into Shea Adams, and he powers it into the net. And you're thinking, 7 minutes in, we've caused our own trouble by giving the ball away, and Southampton are 1-0 up. Now, as well, I should say Shea Adams actually has a chance beforehand, which Darlow does save well, but I think he's got to save that first goal, Carl Darlow. It looks like it's straight at him, and he has a clear view of it. It's not like the Wolves goal, where his view's a bit obstructed. I think he's got to save that. But that's two big chances for Southampton, and they've taken one already after 7 minutes, and you think, well, Newcastle have got to get a response, and Newcastle just really didn't do anything going forward today. Jacob Murphy down that right-hand side, we just ran into trouble with Ginepra, who I thought was one of Southampton's better players this evening. But apart from Sean Longstaff's header, which was really, really comfortable for Alex McCarthy, Southampton were by far the better team. Theo Walcott should have doubled Southampton's lead just before half-time after Fabian Schär gets dragged out of position. Ginepra's lovely flick played Walcott through, and he should score, really, when he gets in that position in the box. Has a free shot and goal. I'm expecting Theo Walcott to score, and Newcastle got away with it, really. But we were causing our own issues in defence and in midfield. Saint-Maximin, how many times he gave the ball away? Jeff Hendrick just looked woeful. How many times did he couldn't string a pass together? And you're thinking to yourself, how are Newcastle actually going to get back into this? You just don't think Newcastle can get back into it. And you're thinking, it's crying out for a change. Callum Wilson was so isolated. Yeah, I think he had 9 touches in the whole of the first half, and I think 2 of them would have been kickoffs. So that tells you something straight away. So Newcastle were really, really struggling. I think this game needed an extra central midfielder for Newcastle just to kind of get a bit of a foothold in the whole game. Isaac Hayden being on the bench, why was he not starting? Why is he not starting? Is he better than Hendrick in that position? I think he is. Get your comments below if you think Isaac Hayden should have started over Jeff Hendrick, for example, or even Sean Longstaff. We'll touch on about his mistake in a second. But yeah, going into half-time, Newcastle 1-0 down, had to basically start again, and it was just more from the first half, really, going into the second half, and Southampton could have been 2 or 3-0 up early on. Bednarek had a header saved by Carl Darlow, his front post header was well saved by Darlow, and then another fantastic save from Romeo. His shot looked like it's probably just dipping under the crossbar, but Darlow gets a fingertip to take it over the crossbar, and Newcastle had to do something, had to change something, and Steve Bruce, after an hour, changed it. He takes off Jeff Hendrick, who was woeful, as we've mentioned, and brings on Matty Longstaff, just a bit of fresh legs and a bit of energy and just something different. And yes, it was good to see him on the pitch, but we probably need to see 2 or 3 more games from Matty just to kind of get back into full fitness. I thought he was okay, but Newcastle, again, it didn't really materialise in chances. We had the ball, in certain areas of the pitch, but there were so many times where Almiron was running into trouble and Saint-Maximin was running into traffic and Newcastle just weren't getting anywhere. And Carroll comes on, Joelinton comes on for Wilson, who looks like he's got a bit of a hamstring injury, which we'll mention in a second when we talk about Steve Bruce. But you just think, can they do something going into the last 10-15 minutes? Well, they weren't really given an opportunity because Sean Longstaff makes an error on the edge of his own box. He takes far too much time to try and get it out his feet and try and get a pass, and Stuart Armstrong nicks the ball off him and drills it in the bottom right-hand corner. And that was game, set and match. And Newcastle didn't deserve anything, by the way. It was a 2-0 hammering. It really was. But Sean's got that in his locker, unfortunately. He holds on to the ball for at least a second too longer. He needs to play it out a little bit quicker. And in the Premier League against a team like Southampton, with the quality that they've been showing this season, you're going to get punished. But it wasn't just that mistake that was why we lost the game. We were just second best in every department. Every second ball, our passes were atrocious. I don't think we strung 3 passes together going forward. And when Wilson comes off, where are your goals coming from? Carroll hasn't scored since he's arrived last summer. Joelinton's probably scored 2 goals, 3 goals in the Premier League. I think it's 2 actually in the Premier League since he was bought. Almiron's struggling going forward in that game. Saint-Maximin, I thought, was poor again. And you're thinking, well, where's the goals coming from? But fair play to Joelinton, he nearly actually got us a fantastic goal and might have made it a bit nervy for Southampton from Jamal Lewis's cross. Joelinton was there. It was a fantastic header just inside Southampton's box and almost in the top corner. It was a fantastic save from McCarthy, who really had nothing to do all game. So a great save by the Southampton goalkeeper. But it ended 2-0 and Newcastle, as we've mentioned, deserved nothing. And the injuries are now becoming a worry. Ryan Fraser, we know, is out before the game. Callum Wilson's now out. It looks like he might, you hope it's just precautionary, but he was holding his hamstring while he was coming off. It's not looking good in terms of striking options going forward for Newcastle. But let's hear from Steve Bruce. There's a lot of questions that has to be asked after that performance, but let's hear what he has to say first.
Well, certainly the best team won. And, we didn't get anywhere near where we were 5 days ago against Everton. Quite simple. We didn't look after the ball well enough. We didn't. We've gifted them 2 goals, which at this level or any level you can't do. But disappointed the way we played. We didn't do enough to win the game, and against I have to say, a very good Southampton team who make life really difficult. We didn't handle the full press what they put on when they're very good at it, and it was a difficult night for us.
So that was Steve Bruce following Newcastle's 2-0 defeat. Why did he not change it earlier would be one of the first questions I would have asked. Why was Isaac Hayden not involved? Is the formation good enough? I think I've said before, I think the formation's all right, but against Southampton today, it just wasn't great. It just wasn't a great performance. It just wasn't the right formation. I think we basically let Southampton have far too much time in the ball. We just didn't press them. They were always pressing us, and it was just not reciprocating at all throughout the 93 minutes or whatever it was. But when you look at it, Newcastle were basically awful throughout the whole game. There's not too many ways you can put it across. But Callum Wilson's a worry. What are your thoughts on Newcastle going forward? Do you think that the likes of no Callum Wilson, no Ryan Fraser, where's the goals coming from? What would you do going forward if both those players are out for the Chelsea game after the international break? Do we rely too much on Callum Wilson, for example? That's a question I think you need to probably discuss in the comments as well. But we've also got a clip from Brandon. Brandon's going to talk about those striking options that we haven't got or have got. What do you think, Brandon?
What I will do is, I would definitely check in on Dwight Gill. How is he doing? Because he has been a pretty good goal scorer. Definitely in the Champions League, and he probably can do in the Premier League. And save us out until Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser are match fit again as well. Overall, I would probably play Miggy as a 10, ASM on the left, and Andy Carroll and a striker, and on the right Joelinton, or on the left. It's a difficult one because Joelinton did pretty well on the left. Or would you play Almiron on the right and Maxima as Steve Bruce is doing now in the free row as a 10. It's a difficult one. I will probably play it as a 10 Almiron and then maybe play saint-maximin as a on the right and Joelinton on the left, because but for sure I will bring Andy Carroll in, and if Andy Carroll doesn't or isn't fit, I will probably play Dwight Gill there for sure. Yeah, Dwight Gill on the left, saint-maximin. I would try Joelinton on the right and then Almiron and on a 10 game. That's what I would do.
So that was Brandon's thoughts on Newcastle's striking options. If you look at the table, Newcastle are still in the bottom half following that defeat. Southampton are actually top of the league for about 24 hours, depending if Everton beat Manchester United. But 11 points. It's still not a bad start of the season from 8 games, but I think there's just got to be, the question is, can Steve Bruce change earlier? Can he change his team a bit earlier? And can he actually motivate them to be a bit more exciting? We didn't have a shot, like a physical shot on goal. We had a couple of headers, but we've not had a physical shot on goal. We've got Callum Wilson, £20 million. Saint-Maximin, £20 million. Miguel Almiron on £20 million. No goals. No shots. No shots with your feet. Just 2 headers in 93 minutes against Southampton. No disrespect to Southampton, but they're not Manchester City. They're not Liverpool. They're not Chelsea. We've got Chelsea in 2 weeks as well. I could go on, but I think we need to have a break, an international break. Comes across for Newcastle and the whole of the Premier League. Of course, 3 games for England. Is it the right time for an international break? Probably for Newcastle to get a couple of key men back in terms of Fraser and Wilson, as we've mentioned. But who is your man of the match tonight? I don't think anyone deserved man of the match, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't think anybody was brilliant. But yeah, if you've got anybody in mind, put it in the comments below. Also, give this video a like if you can, and subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV. That would be greatly appreciated. But we'll see you after the international break against Chelsea 2 weeks tomorrow. Thank you very much and have a good weekend.
I don't need saving.